daily challenges while working in SharePoint? Would you like to automate processes, save time, and work more efficiently without having to rely on power users? You can! QuizCom is your one-stop solution for all your SharePoint needs. With 10,000 plus clients and over 70 SharePoint and Office 365 products, we offer a solution for any SharePoint requirement. Let's take a glance at a few of our products. No-code, smart and secured forms. User-friendly and highly customizable organization charts. Data aggregation across your SharePoint Online tenant and MS Graph API. SharePoint and Exchange Online calendar aggregation. One-click convert to PDF and print. When using a third-party app, have you ever wondered how secured your data is when it's processed on a vendor's cloud server? All QuizCom apps are SharePoint hosted apps, which means your data never leaves your tenant. Discover how QuizCom can solve your SharePoint frustrations. Go to www.quizcom.com today and try out any QuizCom product for free.
Okay, welcome to the next session with Michael and Thorsten. May you introduce yourself and what's about your session? I will watch the chat and then have fun.
Okay, thanks. We will do our best. Hope it works. So, yeah, welcome to our session about Microsoft Teams phone system and why we think that is a must-have for the modern workplace. At the beginning, first, a short slide for the Children First Fund from the Chicago Public Schools Foundation. So if you would like to donate something, just use the QR code and support them. And the next slide is about our sponsors. Thanks a lot to our sponsors for the M365 Chicago Meetup, a virtual summit. Without them, it wouldn't be possible to have such community events. So thanks a lot for the support by the sponsors. And now, hand over to Michael. Hope he's here.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a quick introduction to myself. Michael Plettner. I'm an MVP, Office Apps and Services. In my case, it's basically about Microsoft Teams. I am also the co-founder and CEO of a small company which is doing mainly Teams projects with change management, with user adoption, and project management. So these are the main focus points for us. I'm running together with Thorsten, a German-speaking video /regular podcast, which is where we talk about Microsoft 365 topics, everything from Azure, about Windows up to Office 365. And of course, every session there's something with Teams. Teams is huge and quick changing. I'm also the host for the Teams user group in Germany. This is a chapter in Munich. And also for the Adoption and Change Forum in Munich. I am one of the co-hosts over there. And now, Thorsten, your turn.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for the short introduction. I will introduce myself too. My name is Teams Pickhan. I'm working as a Microsoft UC consultant since almost 10 years now with a focus on telephony and enterprise voice. I'm working currently at Glückania GmbH in Germany, and I'm a community worker too, so I'm very active in the Microsoft community. I have an own blog where I'm blogging about my experience, my knowledge from the projects I made in the past about Skype for Business, Microsoft Teams, and sometimes about some other related M365 services, but these both are my focus topics. Also, for all the German attendees here, I have a YouTube channel where I publish on a weekly basis Office 365 quick tip video, where I try to give you some hints to the end user to use Microsoft 365 services to become more productive in our daily work. And as Michael said, I'm co-hoster for the M365 talk together with him, and I'm also the co-hoster for the Teams User Group Germany with the location in Bochum. Of course, you can find me on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and then I guess we can start into the session. Woohoo! So, Michael, what can the attendees expect in the next, I guess, 40 minutes?
Yeah, we have started with an idea. We try to convince you why the telephony system in Teams or with Teams is the best way to achieve the modern workplace idea. And that's why we talk about the why we think it's necessary, what are the options you have, and how you can achieve your target. And we do have
a secret ingredient.
Yes.
So stay tuned. But first of all, some informations about the modern workplace itself and the requests for modern workplace. So modern workplace, it's a topic we have, I guess, for the last 2 or 3 years already in the IT. And what are the topics? Of course, we would like to work from anywhere. This is a request for a modern workplace, a definition for the modern workplace. So it doesn't matter if we are in the home office, in the office itself, or we are working from mobile. It should be possible to work. And of course, we would like to work extensive. So it is required that we have full access to our data, to our programs, and to our tools, and we can do our daily work. This should be secure, hopefully, in most cases. So the work should be safe. That means that we do not transfer any malware into the company network, or that we don't download any malware. We do not get an attack, or if we accidentally delete something, there are some mechanism to restore the data. So it should be loss-free, of course. And last but not least, when we are work from home, it's more important than ever that there's an option to work together with my colleagues who are also in the home office, or perhaps they are already in the office itself. So I would like to work together with my team, with some other departments, perhaps, and a project, or with different sites or locations all over the world. And all these requirements, of course, we can see in Microsoft 365 services and especially here in Microsoft Teams. Why? Because we have different mechanisms, different services like Defender for Office to work secure. We have Azure Information Protection, so we can control who can use our data, or what can we do with this data. We can exchange and use Microsoft Teams as a platform with colleagues nearby me, but also in other locations. And so Microsoft Teams becomes, in the last 2 years, a very, very important software for the modern workplace, because I do not have to switch between different tools. All these services are unique or combined in Microsoft Teams, and I can work with Microsoft Teams. And at the end, it doesn't matter if I'm at home, if I'm working from mobile device, if I'm working from a desktop machine, it's Linux or a MacBook, it doesn't matter, because we have a Teams client in place from the different platforms. But most of the companies forgot what about the telephony. So if I'm working from home, it's not so easy to get the desk phone with my office number here in my home office to work. And here we think we have a good solution with Microsoft Teams. And Michael, what are the solutions here?
Yeah, it sounds easy. Just bring the telephony in Teams. But how can you achieve this? That's the question. And that's a question we try to answer. First of all, we talk about the backend system. And the backend system is how can I connect my existing telephony to Teams? And there's an option with the cloud-only solution where we talk about we don't have any local components anymore, just cloud, pure as a service. And the other one is a kind of hybrid, but not the same hybrid as you may think about when you talk about Exchange hybrid or this legacy system like Skype for Business hybrid. These are completely different because in our scenario, we talk about the cloud and on-premises. They are connected, but they don't share the same word. That's a huge difference here. We will talk about the differences in detail in the next slides. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, we will take a look on the fundamentals. So what do we need when we would like to use Microsoft Teams as a phone system? Of course, we need Microsoft Teams as a basement, and on top of it, we need a phone system license. And here it depends on your current licensing plan. So if you have already an E5 license, the phone system add-on is already included in your license. If you have an E1 or E3 license, or you have a F license plan, then you have to buy additional phone system add-on. So with Microsoft Teams and the phone system add-on, you are able to do phone calls. But a little thing is missing to do outbound calls and inbound calls, and these are the calling plans. This is what Michael told us a few seconds ago. Calling plans are the cloud-only solution. So in this case, or no, Michael will explain it in a few seconds. So just remember, Microsoft calling plans is one option. The other option, and calling plans are the cloud-only solution. So, and the other option, the mixture of on-premise technology and cloud solution is the direct routing. Here we have the same requirements. So we need a basement, and this is Microsoft Teams and the phone system. And on plus, we need a session border controller. And with this session border controller, which is normally on premises, but it can also be hosted in Azure, for example, we will get direct routing in Microsoft Teams. And this is the on-premise part we need here. And Michael will explain some details about the two different options in the next slide, I guess.
Because we heard about fundamental technical requirements. But let's talk about the pros and cons between the different scenarios. The first of all is a cloud-only solution. It sounds great. Microsoft is your PSTN provider, and it sounds bad because Microsoft is a PSTN provider. It depends on your standpoint where you're looking from. Basically, Microsoft is your PSTN provider, which means they are responsible for the telephone numbers, they are responsible for any switches you may have, if you have any number provider to the cloud, to Microsoft, then you have Microsoft as a contract partner. And that's good because basically you have a single one. Everything is running as a service. Everything is in your in your tenant, you have a direct connection. Everything is connected to Microsoft. On the other hand, you don't have any options like you currently have. If you have maybe some issues with Verizon, you can go to another one, and you will lose these options because Microsoft is your provider. Another one is, which is maybe good or maybe not. You can use the cloud-only service with Microsoft only in countries where it's available. And unfortunately, this telephony service is not available in every country where Teams is available. So we have just a small number of countries, at least compared with the Teams service availability at all. We talk about around about 30 countries all over the world. They are very popular industry countries. Yes, US, UK, Germany, Netherlands, North Europe, Eastern Europe, even in Australia, and New Zealand is a new one. So that's not good at all. Sorry, that's not bad at all. But if you talk about a global distribution of a company with South America, for example, or even Africa or Asia in a more spread perspective, then you are not able to use this cloud-only service from Microsoft with the telephony. Yes, Teams is available, but it's maybe not available for the cloud-only solution with telephony as a service. On the other hand, it maybe makes sense to go in these countries to use the service because it's not, you don't have to make the decision for the whole tenant, for the whole implementation. It is the decision for a specific country and not for everything you do with the telephony. The next part is you do have a license, as every time you are dealing with Microsoft, you get a license, and this license is per user, which means this license is assigned to a specific user and gives you some options and some limits. I will talk about this in a couple of seconds. You pay per use. That's good because you buy a package of calling minutes for as a license. But how the licenses will be handled or the minutes in this license will be handled, this is a bit tricky. Let's take a look into this with a bit more detail. We have three different parts here. The first one on the left side are 4 people which got a national calling plan with domestic calling. On the right side, we got 2 people with also domestic and national calling, but there's another package, there's another license package. They've got 240 minutes instead of the other 4 people with a package 120 minutes per user per month. Yes, these numbers are combined the same. And yes, all of these numbers, calling minutes, are combined as national or domestic calls. But you cannot, these are not bound as a single pool of calling minutes because you just pool the number, the calling minutes per group of license. So these people on the right side, you can see these people have 240 minutes each, and this is combined 480. And it doesn't matter if one person is dialing to a national number 480 minutes straight away, or they split it up, or yeah, it doesn't matter who consumes how much of these 480 minutes. On the left side, you have 4 people, same regulation, no matter who can consume this or will consume this, it doesn't matter. But no one of each group can consume the other 480 minutes. After these numbers, after these calling minutes, you have to, or there starts another pay, way to pay. Communication credits will kick in, and you pay per minute, per minute on a kind of prepaid card. So the same is for international calls. So if you have a license which allows you 240 minutes for national calls, of course you have sometimes some international calls. You pay these via communication credits. There's no broken point here. It's not prohibited. It's not just a disconnect. You can do it, but you will pay it via communication credits. And from the licenses perspective, there is another option with the package national calls and international calls. Once again, everyone with the same license will be pooled. Everyone with another pack cannot consume the international calling minutes. That's especially tricky when we talk about international department or an international location where you have to decide, will I spend an international calling minute package or international calling minute license for everyone who may have just 1, 3 or different calls with international participants, then it's maybe too expensive. But if you have someone who is dialing out 90%, you will do it sounds in the first step, at least I hope so. So it's just more an idea how you can work with that. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, your internet connection is sometimes some laggy. Perhaps you disable the video. I am not sure. We can try it once more, but yeah, sometimes it's quite difficult to
I
understand.
hope audio is okay.
Okay.
Okay, and the next part is, it's just a small notice here. Microsoft is your single point of contact, and that's good from my point of view, because everything which can go wrong, you have a single point of contact. They're responsible for the service, for the telephony service itself. They're responsible for the connection to the telephony world, to the PSTN world. They're responsible for Teams as a service itself, and you just buy a telephony service. That's it. On the other hand, there are some limitations, and this is where the other scenario kicks in. When we talk about the connected scenarios with local and cloud solution, you get the best of both worlds. What does it mean, best of both worlds, when the cloud is so perfect? Yeah, sometimes you have some existing connections, some contracts for running for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years for your telephony connection. You just made maybe a new one. You have special prices. You have some configurations for mobile phone. You may have some combined contracts, whatever kind of contract you have. This all will be gone, or you have to pay at least a fee to let it go, to bring it to Microsoft service. But with the connection to the via online services, on-premises services, sorry, local components, you can use it and can still use the benefits you may have from the existing connection. The next one is you can use or connect legacy products. And legacy products are some fax devices, elevators, emergency numbers devices. You get an idea, and Torsten will talk about a slide, I think the next one. So that's something, and you can maybe create something like a centralized zip trunk, which is a connection where you combine different countries or different locations on a single physical location, connect them, and they can use this centralized zip trunk for your whole communication. You have a single entry point, redundant, I hope, redundant connection point, but on a single location, and can use it for your whole communication for multiple locations.
Okay.
So the pros and cons.
Thanks, Michael. So if you consider to use, or if you would like to use phone system, of course, there are some things you need to consider. And here we will give you a short overview what we need to consider. First of all, we have the user, of course. So they know the old classic PBX system for years, and then they should be converted, migrated to Microsoft Teams phone system. And what are the options here? Most of the time, the users are using desk phones with a classic PBX. But with Microsoft Teams, you have the option to use headsets, because then your hands are free. You can use a mouse and tastature to give some information, to exchange, to use Microsoft, and to do your daily job. So you are more flexible when you are using headsets, of course. If there are some users which would like to use still the desk phone, also there's an option here Microsoft provides, or some different vendors, partners from Microsoft provides certified IP phones with a native Microsoft Teams client installed on the IP phone. The third option here, DECT, you can see why it's underlined or yeah. Currently it is missing. So if you have a DECT solution in place in your classic PBX system, there you need to pay especially attention, because DECT, there's currently no solution, no native solution for Microsoft Teams. And here you have to find another way to bring these telephony with Microsoft Teams to these users. Then, of course, most companies have conference rooms, and these conference rooms are equipped with different phone system components like conference system itself or a telephone. So what can we do here? First of all, Microsoft provides here a special license. It is called Teams Room License, and the Teams Room License includes a Teams license, of course, we need it. Then there's included a phone system license, so the phone system add-on is already included. Then the PSTN dial-in feature is included. This allows participants to dial in with PSTN to your conference. And then there's also included an Intune license, so you have an option to do the management of the devices in the cloud itself with Microsoft Intune. Then there are some special devices like the Teams Room device. It's a combination of a little computing unit, a webcam, audio devices, microphones, and with these devices you can equip your conference room and made it to a Teams room. And for smaller rooms, you have an option. It is called Collab Bar. It's based on Android, and yeah, it's a little bar you can put on a monitor and on a screen. And this bar includes the webcam, the microphone, and also some speakers. Then, of course, we have a public area like a library or the front desk and the main hall. And also here we need some special devices because we normally find here public desk phones. And here, of course, you can use the mentioned IP phones certified for Microsoft Teams. And there's also a special license, the Common Area Phone license, which includes Microsoft Teams as a license and the phone system license itself. And it's more, it's cheaper than the normal E1 or E3 license combined with a phone system add-on. And of course, here the same, DECT is currently not supported, so we have no solution, no native solution with a native Teams integration for DECT. So if you have a DECT infrastructure, you have to look for other solutions, for example, to use mobile phones together with a Teams mobile app, which runs perfectly and smoothly with the phone system extension. Then we have the switchboard or the hotline. So if you have a front desk with an attendant, here we also have to consider what are their requirements to do their daily job. Perhaps they already use headsets. Here it is important to have headsets which are qualified and certified for Microsoft Teams. You can work with the IP phone, which is certified for Microsoft Teams. And then you have two features which you buy together with the first Microsoft Teams phone license. It is the auto attendant and the call queue. With the auto attendant, you can do some advanced call routing and call features like call actions for business hours, special call actions for outside of business hours, more special call actions for holidays, and you can define a welcome message and different call actions like routing the call to a call queue. This is normal stuff. Or you can also route the call during outside of your business hours to the voicemail system or to an external PSTN phone number. When the call is routed to a call queue itself, there are some agents which can book in and book out or opt in and opt out. And they will answer the inbound call. You have different routing methods in the call queue itself. And since a few weeks, you can combine this call queue or link this call queue to a Teams channel itself, and then you will get some a light dashboard for your call queue with a brief overview. So with these tools, you can implement very easily a front desk and some light hotline features. The users can work with the Teams client itself. If there are some extended features needed, there are also third-party solutions like Landis Computer Attendant Pro, which will give you these extended features for the tenant front desk, for example. And last but not least, as Michael already said, when we have analog endpoints, we can't use the calling plans by Microsoft because they are currently not supported in the calling plans to use analog endpoints. Then we have to move to the Teams direct routing scenario. And what are analog endpoints? These are fax machines, modem connections, intercom in an elevator, a door opener, or also alarm system. And then we need an SBC to connect them to the PSTN. So SBC. An SBC is a system we need for Teams direct routing, but what is an SBC? SBC stands for Session Border Controller, and the Session Border Controller translate the provider zip to Microsoft Teams compatible zip and vice versa. What does it mean? Of course, there's an RFC which described which headers and messages and methods are allowed in a zip communication. But as always, a provider interprets the RFC in another fashion than a PBX vendor, like Cisco, like Avaya, but also like Microsoft Teams. So if you would like to connect a PSTN zip trunk with Microsoft Teams, you can do this. And perhaps a normal inbound outbound call will also work. But when you try to put the caller on hold and to resume the call, These are some special zip communication which happens here, and this could be fail if there's no SBC implemented and the zip trunk provider will use another method to put the call on hold than Microsoft Teams, and this is probably the case. So we need an SBC to translate provider zip to Microsoft Teams and vice versa. Also, the SBC will spend some security. From my point of view, network guys will kill me in this way, but from my point of view, SBC is some kind of firewall for the communication. The SBC itself stands in front of our network. It has a public IP address, and therefore it is a target from script kiddies for VoIP fraud, and the SBC will protect us against these attacks. SBC itself could be physical or virtual, so it depends on your requirements. And of course, we have support for the cloud, public cloud, like Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure, of course. So if you go to the Azure store and search for an SBC, you will probably find audio codes and ribbon. These are the most common SBC provider here. The SBCs itself, you can deploy directly in Azure and can use them to do a POC with Microsoft Teams, for example. But at the end, it's not only technology, Michael. Hope you are still there.
Yes, I am.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, we've got the idea about all the technical stuff, and I hope everyone is aware of. We can talk about the technical or the technique behind any changes. Without change, without the people, the change will not work. So when we talk about any transformation, as Torsten mentioned before, from existing PBX, from existing telephone system, to maybe the desk phone from Teams, or even the soft client, and forcing the people to use a headset they may have never used before, then it's important to get an idea about how can you address these topics. And the first step is you should be aware of the different options you have for training. You are talking to different people. You are talking to different people would get affected from the change, especially. And all the different people have different needs. So you have different options when you talk to a C-level, like a CXO, that has different needs as someone who is working in an IT department. And everyone has also different requirements for the training and how they can consume the training. So it's usually not possible to put someone who's on a CXL level in a regular user training course, and they just do it the same with a 3-hour session or multiple days or even weeks to get everything from Teams or even the telephony. And therefore you go another way. You address it on a more direct way. And of course, you should consider, you should consider the assistances as well, because the assistances are very important for your CXO level. They will use the telephony system probably more often as the CXO himself or herself. They are the ones who can say, this is not working for me. This will never work for me. Stop this project and give me the old telephony back. So in some cases, I had projects where the assistances were so close to stop the whole project, or at least stop the project to bring them to the CXO level. Address this directly to the assistances as well. Don't think it's just a CXO. The assistances are actually more important for those handling workflow decisions. Talk to them. IT departments are usually the ones who can drop in some new technology pretty easy, and you can use them as a pilot. You can get some ideas behind there, how something works, how you can maybe change something, even if Teams and the telephony is already rolled out. They are pretty easy to handle, and you get some feedback. You also can test some training materials or communication parts in IT. The next example is sales. Someone who's on the telephone for 90% of his day or her day. It's pretty hard to just remove the existing telephony or the telephone he likes and use the most of the time and give them a new one. So think about how you can address this. Even the other departments. And it's pretty common to ignore there is maybe more as the regular office user in your company. Someone who is working in a retail area is working with the end customers directly. They talk to them. And how can you find out what kind of people you have in your company? Create some personas, create some ideas and some group of people where with the same need, where they share the same need, the same way how they work. Create some personas and address different needs, different requirements directly to these personas. Next slide, please.
Of course.
Thank you. And you can address these different needs also with different devices. You have about more than 70 different devices for headsets only. You are able to use wireless, wired headsets, in-ear, over-ear, on-ear, single ear, mono ear, dual ear. Even in the neck, there are some different headsets available, and you can address the different needs for someone who is working maybe the first time with a headset in the company business field. And the experience told us, give them some options. No one is like the other one. The same headset I like is maybe not the same as Torsten is or would like to use. So give them an option. Let them try something. And you can create a small number of supported devices with different types, like 1 or 2 with dual ear, 1 with mono ear, wireless, wired, and you just have a couple of different devices. They are supported, and you can bring it into the company, and everyone has the feeling they have so many options. And it's so nice from the IT and from the whole company to give them the right device they are looking for. The same for desk phones. And there are different options as well. And trust me, you don't want to put the same device on a CXO level as you may want to put in a retail area or in a conference room. So you can choose from different types. You can address different needs. Use this. After you've identified your need for the different personas, you can address the specific need with the right device. Even with the room devices, you can address the right need also for your organization. Maybe it's the same for every location, for every room. Maybe you have some different requirements, like a standalone room system where you can just go in, hit a button to join a meeting, or a small huddle room where you could just go in, put your device on a USB cable, and you are ready to go. There are so many different options. Choose your device and help the users to get an idea how they can use the telephony for the better way.
So from our point of view, I hope you have the same Teams and phone system. This is a modern workplace. Teams is already for most companies the hub for the collaboration. It's flexible and reliable, and so why not extend it with Microsoft telephony? There are different devices for all types of end users, and Teams phone system complete at the end your concept of a modern workplace. And yeah, what's also important, we think, is that when you start a project to deploy or to roll out Microsoft Teams as a phone system, do not communicate or think about a telephony 2.0 or something like this. Do not make not so high expectation to your end users that they expect a better audio, a better telephony. That will not work. At the end, it's better to communicate that you will extend the hub for collaboration with telephony and that you have more options to use the phone system in Teams. Isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Don't make the false promises.
Yeah. So these our slides help us to improve our conference. So here you have a QR code to give us feedback about this session, about the event itself. And then thanks for joining us and our session. If you like, we wouldn't forget this, donate something for the Children First Fund, for the Chicago Public Schools Foundation, and then we have hopefully some time for Q&A. If there aren't questions, I don't know.
I haven't seen anything.
What?
Thank you very much. I was watching the chat, but it was quite silent. So I think you answered so many questions during your session.
Okay, sounds
Hopefully.
good.
Yeah, it was really great because about telephony, you don't hear so many sessions. And I think you gave a great overview about the devices, about what you have to consider and so on. So thank you very much.
Thanks for your feedback.